Hello, this is Randy Carlson. Today I did a video to show you how I cut a blue topaz, and I kind of did it step by step, and I hope you understand what I'm doing there and hope you like it. It's special good today because watching the Nebraska football game and they finally won. So yeah, I'm a big Nebraska fan. I'm a graduate of UNL 1980, and wherever I'm at I follow them, and I always try to get the Big Ten network. But anyway, I finished the bottom half today. That's called the pavilion, and that's the way we typically cut a stone. We cut the bottom half and then we flip it, and then I will cut the top half tomorrow, and I'll show you how I do that in a separate video. Okay, have a good day, everybody. Okay, let's go into the rock shop. Here we are. This is where the work gets done. That's my new sales manager. He's not doing such a good job. Here is my faceting machine, and I built a cedar desk to put it onto. There it is. That's an Ultratech V2, one of the best ones on the market. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so I have glued up the blue topaz, so it's on the brass dop. You can see here. I've got it glued. Let's test it. Seems to be a good job. I use high strength epoxy. And here's the design I picked out for this particular one. So this is Andy Ian Brown. He's from New Zealand. Really good designer. His fastening book, volume 1. There's volume 2. And I just got these, so I'm giving, this is a new for me. So I'm going to use Quadra Optic Weave, because this is a square shaped stone for the most part. And here's the different ways it should come out depending on the refractive index, and this is 1.62, so it's going to be in between these two. And let me show you how we put it in the machine. So I had this one in just for a test. Set you down there. It's hard to do this one-handed, but I put that dop into the quill on the end of the head here of my faceting machine mast. Let me tighten it down. And now I am ready to go. So I'll make a copy of that design sheet and I'll put it up here, and then I'll start cutting. Okay, I'm getting ready to cut the first tier. So the machine's ready. The water tank's full of water. Got it spinning with a 360 lap. You can see the stone there is in the dop. I've got it set for 48.2 degrees. That's the angle of my first tier. So looking over at the design sheet, we always cut the bottom first, the pavilion, then we come back and we cut the crown after that. But on the pavilion, I start with, of course, P1. P1 is the tier for the first cuts on the pavilion. And I'm going to cut it at these index locations, 2, 22, 26, 46, 50, and you'll see that on my index wheel here. That's a 96 index wheel, but I'll cut all those. Those are 8 positions. And what I'm cutting is, you'll see P1 here, so you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are the 8 positions I'll cut. I'll come back when I've got that done and show it to you. Okay, let me slip this video in. This is just to show you what's happening when I'm cutting. Boring. But anyway, I set the depth down on my knob there on the mast, and then I cut. I've got this dial indicator that it'll work its way up to 0 when I hit the actual angle. So that's where you can see the water drip going on there. So it's slinging the material off to the edge and in the drip pan, as well as with the water. This is how it goes, and you can see I'm getting a little bit of a face there that I'm cutting. Oh, and one last thing I'll show you here before I finish the tier is I do have this hooked up to an ohm meter that will tell me when I've hit the hard stop, and there you can see it moving. See that needle move? It means I've hit the hard stop and I've cut the angle all the way in. Okay, I've got P1 cut in. So there's 8 positions I cut on there, all at the same angle, and made a temporary center point. So that comes to a tip. And what I'll do next is go and do the outline, the girdle shape. The outline is called the girdle. And so on the diagram, let's see, you can see, oops, see it there's G1, so I'm going to cut it at 90 degrees, and I'm going to cut it at the 4 compass points for a 96 index, which is 96, 24, 48, and 72. And that will give me this outer shape right there. So that's my next step. Okay, now I have P1 and G1 cut in. So you can see G1 gives me that square shape. And I've done this with the 360 grit, which is pretty rough. And so now that I've gotten the bulk of the material off, and the rest I'm going to be doing just some very minute little cuts to it, I'm going to take this 360 off and go to a 600 and start smoothing it out a bit. But when I take it off, I'm going to wash this lap, just get all the particles off of it. I'm going to take the splash pan out and wash it because the little particles got up on the side. And you can see particles there on the top of my platform. And any of those little pieces get onto the stone while I'm cutting or polishing, it's going to scratch. So you need to get those out of there. You don't want the contamination from that. Okay, I have cleaned up P1 and G1. Those are my first two sets of cuts. And I used first the 600 metal lap, and then I've gone on to the 1200 composite lap. And now that I've got those cleaned up, I'm going to do the other cuts. So I've got P2 at 65.05 and P3 at 39.36. So we can see P2 right there, right on the edge. And then P3 is going to be like this little star in the center. And that's what I'll cut next. Wow, watching Nebraska football. Just want to show you that some of these facets are really hard to see, so I paint the facet. I take a Sharpie and I paint it, and then watch when I do the cut here. And now you can see where it's cutting in better because I've got the black against the clear stone where I just cut. Ooh, Huskers held them. Ooh, I was afraid there. Stinking Penn State got the ball on an interception. Many attempts to get down there, but no, incomplete. Woohoo! Oops, wait. I'm sorry. I'll get back to it. Okay, I've got it cut. I've cut it with P2 and P3 in there now, and you can see where I used the Sharpie to paint it. And one last play in the game. Oh my God! And then I'll go to the 3000 to smooth it out. That's pre-polish, and then I'll go to a 14,000. Then we'll see after that. I may go to 50,000. That's a win. That's a win. That's a win. Yoo-hoo! All right, Huskers. Goodbye, Penn State. Okay, I finished the pavilion, and it all came out pretty good. Unfortunately, got a few little scratches on the bottom, but then I run the dilemma: do I try to polish out the scratches? And if I do, it overcuts the facets. So I decided just to leave the little scratches in. And I'll work on figuring out why that happened so we don't have the same thing when I cut the top. So tomorrow I'll show you how I transfer it, and then I'll start cutting the top.